Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Irish Health Hour Chats. Today, I am delighted to be interviewing the lovely Caroline Cunningham. Caroline has a lot of different things that she does, but all very connected as well. Caroline is a reflexologist, and she calls herself Authentic Reflexology, which I really resonate, the word authentic. She's also a poet, she's a singer, and she's an author and a blogger. So first of all, welcome, Caroline, and thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dolores. I'm in excellent company with yourself, being a lovely writer and all, and holistic person. So thank you very much for inviting me today.
No, it's great, and I'm delighted, and it's lovely to introduce something that I'm not awfully familiar with, reflexology. I do some myself, but I'm not a qualified reflexologist, so I wouldn't know the ins and outs. Let's start off with reflexology, if you don't mind, Caroline.
Sure.
I'm fascinated always by the fact that we can map our body on our feet. So without further ado, I am going to ask you maybe to let us know, if you want, first how you got into your journey into reflexology, why you chose that particular energy therapy, and then maybe give us a little story about how we can use this map on our feet.
Sure, no problem. Well, I suppose my journey started in earnest, I suppose, in 1999. Of this process of discovery, you know, what I was meant to do for myself. I was forced to think about that because I was a teacher in past life.
Wow.
And so I had a lot of changes to make, a lot of transformation, if you like. That word wasn't even being used back then. So I was a bit in the dark. And along the way, I discovered reflexology as a therapy for myself. And what I benefited most from it was it kept me in a sort of a balanced state, you know, with emotions, with my body functions and everything, because I had a lot of tension in myself, a lot of anxiety, and I found that making changes of any kind just was very terrifying for me back then, you know. So I found with the reflexology, it just sort of steadied me, and I always found good therapists as well that I connected with. So from there, I never thought I was going to end up being a therapist myself. Later on, I discovered Reiki, and again, it was just a curiosity. I come from a science background, so in the beginning,
love it.
In the beginning, I couldn't get my head around this at all, but I knew there was something really good about it. There's something very gentle. It's almost like if you're with somebody who is really passionate about what they do, you just get the sense of care that's there, and sometimes that's really what we need, you know. So I got curious, but the curiosity kept going on. So I was talking to different people about how they experienced energy, and I knew I had this in me, you know, some kind of a sense of, you know, getting a sense of, even from nature, the energy that's there and everything, and it's all growing inside me. And my curiosity around my creative self as well, I was discovering lots more and pushing the boat out. But anyway, the reflexology came about through an astrovedic reading that I had a while back.
A what thing, Caroline?
An astrovedic reading. And from there, it was put to me, you know, if you're not helping people, you should be, because that's in you. And I knew that resonated. And a few months later, my aunt had an accident and was very badly injured. Now, luckily, she recovered well, but I took care of her. And she had a book on reflexology in her home and gave it to me. She said, I had this, but I'm not really interested in it myself, but you might get something from it. And a month later, I was visiting my sister-in-law and my brother, and she's a nurse. And she was complaining of her sore feet one night, and I was after reading this reflexology book. So I said, here, put your feet up there and I'll, you know, do something with them, you know. And when I had her feet in my hands, that was the moment I knew I'm going to find out about this reflexology. There was something about it. I really liked it. So I went and I got a really great teacher, Alison Kavanagh, in Holistic College Dublin. It turns out she had studied with Eunice Ingham's nephew, Dwight Byers. And Eunice Ingham is the mother of modern day reflexology as we know it. She coined the phrase reflexology. And she's the one who developed the first mappings of the reflexes onto the feet. So your feet have points on them that are connected with other parts of your body, like the organs and systems. And some people have even gone further into it and have mapped the the chakra system onto the feet as well. And it has been, I suppose, developed, it's still being developed. There's lots of research even around it. And it's shown to improve circulation, bring balance to body systems. But there's so much more than that as well, because people get a lot of release of tension, even internally, things they're not even aware of that they're holding inside. And it just seems to free up or unblock, any kind of tensions like that. And from there, when you start to feel better, you start sleeping better, you start making better decisions, you get more energy. It's just a very natural therapy, and I love doing it. When I studied, I got a distinction. I was really
good for you. But you do have the energy. I mean, that person that said to you that or that you felt yourself even that you should be doing it, almost like the fact that you were a teacher as well in a helping environment. I mean, that sort of transferred onto what you do now, is helping people on an energetic level, and teaching, of course, as well, can help people on an energetic level if we get a teacher that really resonates with someone at that level. So it's wonderful. And I love the fact that you have a scientific background, because now I don't have a scientific background. I have a legal background and was in legal for 15 years before I went into the energy world. So it's funny. But even though I don't have a scientific mind, I did have to find out more myself. So I have a great book on vibrational medicine by Richard Gerber, which I often refer people to, because I like to be able to answer. Now there's a lot unknown, and I don't feel as though I have to know everything if somebody asks me a question about energy work, but I like to know for myself, how it works. It's necessary to know. So
it's the authenticity then that, that's what you're seeking really when you're doing that. And that's what resonates with me as well. If you know where something has come from, and the more you know about it, the more you can bring out the best in it yourself,
That's great. Yeah, you've just clarified that for me, actually. I love that. Thank you. So, and the fact that you call yourself Authentic Reflexology, because that word, as I said already, authentic is, it's one it's used a lot now, but when we are being authentic, we're coming from such a different place. Yeah. We're coming from such a deep place inside us. So what's your take on that word, authentic?
Well, I've gotten asked that quite a bit, and I anticipated that when I chose the word authentic for my business. Because there was quite a lot of people asking me, and I suppose maybe people think, well, why are you saying your reflexology is better than ours? Maybe,
Yes,
but it's not, of course. That. Maybe I let people say that for themselves, but no, I just felt very strongly about when we are aiming to be ourselves as much as possible, and we do something about it. That's where we actually get our really great, our health improves. When you want to do something that you love and you make it happen, that's where, people say to me, oh, you look so happy and all this sort of thing. But it's actually because that's what I'm doing. I'm seeking to be the best I can be in myself. I've discovered I have creative talents that I was lying to myself about years ago. When people used to say, oh, you're good at art. But no, I was like going, you're only saying that.
Yeah, I love that. And I want to talk about your art as well, because there again, my whole signature work that I do is about owning your story. And that's exactly what you've done. You've allowed your authentic self to be heard. You haven't blocked down the fact that you're creative. You've allowed it to come out now. And that is where we get our bliss and where we're in our joy. When we're doing something that actually our root voice, our first chakra, is actually saying, this is actually, I'm grounded in this because I'm letting my soul sing. I'm doing exactly what I'm in bliss about and what brings me joy. So, I mean, you can see it in you. Yeah, you're such a happy person. And it's lovely for someone then. People are going to resonate with you a lot because if they can see that authenticity, because you're doing it from such a wonderful place yourself. And your poetry and your creativeness now is definitely something I'd love you to, I can see there, that picture in the background. Tell us about your creativity, your creative side.
Okay, well,
let that flow.
As I said, I didn't think I'd be doing this when I started out on this journey, but this is a little collage that I made. It's from paper, actually. I made handmade paper. I did a workshop a few years ago. And this is sort of a representation of my feet. And I was only studying my reflexology at the time, so I was doing lots of paintings of feet. And I just added a few little symbols in there. There's one here actually. You might see there's some that resonate with being Celtic, and even a Peruvian one here that's similar to one of the Reiki symbols actually. So there are my feet, and I use that then for my logo as well for my business. And oh yeah, I've got my tree paint. I've got my paintings. So last year I created a collection of paintings, and I called it The Sacred Lives of Trees. And I wanted to quietly draw attention, I suppose, to trees and nature from the point of view that they give us a lot of wisdom and comfort and inspiration. I found a lot of solace from being around trees at times when I really needed, something like that. And so this was my way of sort of paying tribute to trees in that context and allowing other people to express what they thought. And it was very interesting. The conversations that we've had on Twitter, for example, and Facebook, people send me photographs of trees and articles.
Wow.
And, so it just feels really good to have stirred that in people. And even people coming into my exhibitions and that, and writing lovely notes and telling me, even poems, like maybe one lady expressed a poem that her dad wrote about it. And so there was all that just lovely feeling, that gave people an excuse or a place to express it. So this is one of my latest paintings.
Wow.
I used to live across the road from this tree, and I used to love in the evening times, I'd open my door and I'd sit out and maybe have my tea or something, and that tree was there, and it was like having a friend,
Yeah, and I love that. And you call it the whisperings of nature, and you talked about the solace. It's all very quietly you do this, and I love that the way that comes across in your work.
Thank you, Dolores. Thank you. And this is actually my poetry book there. So my very first ever book, which I'm very proud of.
Congratulations.
Thank you. The poems were all written over my lifetime, if you like, to where I am now. I had them stored in little notebooks, and it was an exercise to experience just publishing this. And the momentum gathered then, so I went ahead and that was only in April I published the poetry book. So now, as of the last month, I have another book, which is 7 C's to Calm, Reclaiming Your Anxiety-Free Self. So I'm launching this at the moment. And
wonderful. And there again, actually, in relation to that, sorry,
no
in relation to that, no, hold it up, I'm talking about that, yeah. I mean, reclaiming your anxiety-free self. That to me hits a chord, because it's reclaiming something that is instinctual in us. It's sort of looking at anxiety as not being us. Now, I know that for some people, they may have other issues, but for someone that's developed anxiety, maybe through life circumstances, I love the way you've put that, because it separates almost from, rather than saying, I am an anxious person.
Yes.
Let's kind of see anxiousness as something that has developed almost in us, and that we can reclaim.
It's not our personality.
Without the anxiousness.
Yeah, exactly.
Tell us more.
Well, it's just, as I said, I developed a lot of anxiety over my younger years especially. And I think nowadays there's a lot more understanding and support and openness. And when I was a lot further back, to even just express myself, I didn't know really the words, and I didn't even the feelings. And I think I was in a very numb state for a long time, and just there was emotions there I didn't even know I had. And over time, I started to understand and release them. The words were coming. I was working at my singing as well, which really was probably the most motivating thing for me. But just as I said, when you start getting rid of all the rubbish, you're ready to move forward, and that's what I have been working on. So I just thought, I'd like to help other people to know that they're not on their own, because one of the things with anxiety is you want to keep it a secret. You don't want anyone to know that you really are worried about stuff, or you've got all this tension inside you, and you do your best to kind of not show it.
Mm-hmm.
But actually it's very common, and even just some of it can be a little bit normal. We're not all kind of sailing through the world in a perfect state. So, there are a lot of things out there that can be, a bit demanding, challenging, frightening, whatever. But we just have to work on how to deal with it. And if we're working on it in a good way, then we can handle more stuff, and we can fulfill our dreams and be more ambitious, So rather than hiding behind the curtains like I was.
Well, that's, you've made very valid points there. That's certainly, just because that anxiety can come at any time for us. It doesn't mean that because we're aware of it that we're never going to be anxious again, but at least we have the tools to deal with it, and we can separate it and not be this habit, be this encompassing us, that we're anxious. So, and you have the medicine after having been through it yourself, that you understand what it's like, which is wonderful then to be able to give somebody a resource, the 7 C's to calm. It's just wonderful, and I wish the best with it. Let us know now how we can, if a person wanted to get their hands on your book, is it through your website?
Yeah, everything is on my website. So carolinecunningham.com is my website. And I've got my artwork there and my books. There's different sections. There's a section for reflexology. And there's also alternative websites as well. So the publishing company is feedaread.com, and it can be purchased through that. And actually, the 7 C's to Calm is going to be on Amazon. It's not fully set up yet, but and I think actually some other bookstore sites as well, online sites. And I'm also having conversations with people in retail bookstores and some local outlets here as well, because this is all new to me, so it's all learning still. And the more people I'm talking to, and getting a better sense of what way they do it, and
yes, I know that journey well.
Yeah, you're well ahead of me.
Well, it's like that. It's all a journey as well. And I do have my books, my children's books, for sale in nationwide in certain shops. But yeah, it has been a learning journey. But isn't it's been great. But you have such a belief in your books. Like, I remember someone saying to me, one of my teachers, how come you can sell your books to anyone? You channel that energy that you have, and I can honestly say I can go into any shop and ask them to take my books, because I have such a belief in them, because they're about the emotional needs for children. So when we have such a belief in what we do, it flows, doesn't it?
It sure does. I was in a shop yesterday in Dublin, a lovely little holistic store in Temple Bar, and they sell all the instruments there, and I just was passing and I thought, oh, better go in there. And I chatted with the guy who's in charge on the day, and before I knew it, he was pointing at a corner over at the window, and he said, they'd look lovely there at Christmas time.
I love it.
I thought, yeah, they much. All right, yeah.
Yeah, and it's great. And there again, he probably felt the wonderful energy that you have around it all. So now we're doing this interview in October 2017, but this interview is going to be on the website for a while, forever, let's say, on the Irish Health Hour. So over the course of the next few weeks, would you like to tell people what you're up to and how they can link in with you, let's say, if they're listening in from Ireland, obviously? Yeah,
well, my Facebook page is Authentic Reflexology. I have two. I've got Authentic Path Inspiration and Authentic Reflexology, because maybe some people just like the reflexology. So I do a lot of blogging and writing, so I share a lot of articles, and I often do videos as well, live videos and things like that. I'm always up to something different. I have
actually, sorry, I never asked you about your blogging. Tell us about your awards and throw it in there.
Oh, well, I've got a couple of blogs. So the first one was my kind of travel related one, which I hope to turn into a memoir. That was Wild Star Landing.
Oh, cool.
Still there. And it's got a Peru connection. And I'm connecting with a lot of lovely Peruvian people here now in Ireland. And I still have my contacts back in Peru, where I was in the Sacred Valley of Cusco, which is beautiful. But my new website, I had a new website since last year. I used to have authenticreflexology.com. It's still there, but I got a rebrand opportunity from my local enterprise office, which was brilliant. And now I'm carolinecunningham.com with all the different blog sections.
Wonderful.
And, after just 1 year of building that up, I'm shortlisted in the Ireland Blog Awards in the corporate categories of health and wellbeing and best blog article. So I'm really happy with that.
That's fantastic. And what blog was it that you got that's up for nomination?
Well, it's my new Caroline Cunningham website. So there's blog areas within it. So I just chose one of the areas, which I called Authentic Path.
Right.
So in every section I have a blog. I've got articles on art, books, reflexology, and then kind of the authentic path encompasses a few of them, I suppose, really, because it's all about my journey and hoping to inspire other people.
Love that.
Yeah. So so that's the. Oh, but you asked me about the what's happening. I'm doing a workshop. It's starting soon now. On the 5th of October, I have a free workshop in Carlow Town in the library, and I will be talking about 7 C's to Calm, and I'll also be incorporating some self-care of reflexology in it as well. And that's on the 5th.
Caroline?
Or sorry, the 4th.
Where can people book that if they should?
Well, it's a free event, so okay. I have Facebook events set up on for Facebook. It's also on Eventbrite. They can find out through my website as well, because I have articles on it. On the bottom of the page, you'll see an events section. There's also going to be an art display on that week as well. So my artwork will be on the wall. And so the workshop is on the Wednesday, the wellness workshop. And the next night, Thursday, I'm singing some songs.
Wow. In
Irish and English, because Glore Festival is also taking place. And the title of the whole event is Autumn Leaves and Dreams.
Autumn Leaves and Dreams.
Yes.
Fantastic.
And in Irish, it's Dilogi agus Ashlingi on 4.
Oh.
So I'm looking forward to it. And then I have 2 days training with Dr. Carol Samuel directly after that for reflexology, treating people with pain. And this lady is the only person in the world who has a PhD in reflexology. So I'm really looking forward to benefiting from the research that she has done. She's a very inspiring person. And then I'm going to be also taking part with another very inspiring lady, yourself.
I take that compliment, thank you.
With the Women's Inspire Network event a few days later in Dublin. And so there will be reflexology on the go, and I'm aiming to have everybody walking on air.
Love it. And that's a great hashtag, walking on air.
Yeah.
Love it. So that's on in Dublin on the 10th of October, yeah, and it's great that you're one of the therapists that's there at the self-care part of the event, so I'm delighted to have you on board for that.
Thank you very much, Dolores. There's one thing I'd like to mention about reflexology, here in Ireland anyway. I don't think a lot of people are still aware of it, but reflexology is one of the therapies that's covered by health insurance. And there's quite a lot of people who would have benefit, and some of them can get full benefit for the treatment, reclaiming their treatment costs, and others maybe can get a portion. It depends on what policy they have. But it's just I'm trying to get that word out there, because
yes, that's very important to know.
I don't think a lot of people are using up that, benefit.
That's great. I didn't know that myself, actually. So I'm going to put a link to all your websites, or not all your websites, sorry, your website and the different links that you want me to share. Best of luck with your blogs. It's great. I love that it's your path, and that people can obviously feel that, and obviously the judges could feel that it's great that you can, show your path so that people can follow, and if they have similar issues in their lives, that it's nice. It's nice for people to know that they're not alone.
Yes.
And also your whatever else you want me to share, your event page. I'm quite happy to put it up for people. Is there anything else that we didn't cover that you would like to mention, Caroline, before we finish up?
Well, no, I think that's it, Dolores. I'm really looking forward to, I have another event coming up in November, which is an art bank in Bunclody, County Wexford, and that's a lovely venue for arts. It's a community of people who are just very generous with supporting each other, So that's my event in November.
Wonderful. That's great. Well, thanks so much for coming on and letting us know about reflexology.
Thank you very much.
Great. It's great to give people, especially when that if people had kind of wondered, I don't know what reflexology is, at least people can know that it's an energy work. They can go and they can have.
Sorry, I didn't quite explain probably fully. It's using the hands, Dolores, mainly on the feet. It can be done also on the hands. So it's the application of pressure to specific points on the feet to bring about balance in the body. So I just clarify that, because I didn't say exactly what it was.
Great. And that pressure is it's just light pressure.
Yeah, exactly. It can be adapted as well for different people's needs and their emotional states. Yeah.
Yeah, I actually I might try and grab one of those sessions with you myself. If you're not booked up, you already have bookings. That's great. Caroline, thank you so much again for joining us on Irish Health Hour Chats and for letting people know. And if anybody wants to connect with you, they can connect through Facebook or go on to hop onto your website. And until I see you on the 10th of October, thanks, Caroline.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Dolores. Bye.